This is Kamala, disciple of Paramhansa Yogananda and minister of the Self-Realization Fellowship. Reverence for life is a divine precept. Paramhansa Yogananda prayed, "Divine Father, teach me to pass through smaller territories of love until I can enter into the endless territory of divine love, in which I shall find all living things as my own." In Genesis chapter 1, verse 21, 22, and 25, we read, "And God created great whales, and every living creature that moveth, which the waters brought forth abundantly, and every winged fowl. And God saw that it was good. And God blessed them, saying, Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let fowl multiply in the earth. And God made the beast of the earth, and cattle, and everything that creepeth upon the earth. And God saw that it was good." All lives are woven together as upon a loom, and the varied patterns are made upon a threading of love that holds creation together and relates every part of the fabric of life with every other part. We understand our closeness to mankind, but often do not see our relatedness with all life. Clear realization of this is usually a learning process. Perhaps we may call it a re-education, whereby newly discovered truths replace many of our misconceptions. No living being, man or creature, is bounded by dimensions of physical measurements. "These give no trace," wrote J.A. Boone, "of the height, depth, grandeur, and purpose that links us together in the great totality of existence." As our understanding of this deepens, an awareness permeates our consciousness, imbuing us with new perceptions of our unity with all life. In our reading, we may share many experiences that have taken place between persons of understanding hearts and creatures of nature. When this has been under conditions of mutual trust and respect, not to measure or capture or change their ways, then we see the natural gentleness of creatures, revealing their great capacity for love and trust. On our part, it is essential to accord them freedom as well as love, for both are innate needs in all beings. Gandhi extended his respect and regard for every being, and he pledged the avoidance of harm to any living creature in thought or deed. As our spiritual insight into nature enlarges, our love expands to include life throughout all of God's creation. We feel kinship with all life. To know oneself is to find that self in all that exists. This part of our spiritual unfoldment may come gradually, with new thoughts about the oneness of all life, or it may be a sudden opening of the heart. Writings help awaken or deepen this reverence for life. Our responsiveness can become a universal kind of love when our empathy expands from one to the many. To achieve this may be a result of a directional choice in reading, which gives us special insight. An intuitive presentation of relationships and communication between man and animal may be found in the book Kinship with All Life, which considers the real inner self of all beings. The Boston Sunday Post described this one of the most remarkable and unique animal books we have ever read. The author is J. Allen Boone. Letters to Strongheart, by the same writer, is like discovering truth through newly opened eyes, before old concepts filled our thinking. Every chapter yields surprises and original viewpoints. It reverses attitudes, presenting new ones that give understanding and meaning to man's kinship with all life. The benefits in reading the books recommended here, and all of those mentioned at the end of this talk, are to expand our consciousness to know true reverence for life. They are not chosen to turn thoughts to animal behavior, which implies an observer rather than an interrelatedness. They are not presented for story interest only. They acquaint us with a climate wherein spiritual values have evolved. Each book listed has a quality of love within it, love that was so deeply moving and genuine in real life that it is imparted to the reader. Full realization of the unity of all life can awaken divine love. It is written about St. Francis of Assisi that he grew aware of the oneness pervading all things through the oneness of their common Creator, and his soul overflowed with a feeling of brotherhood with all created things. A sensation of love overcame him, stronger than any he had ever sensed before. He felt brotherly love for everything under the sun. It is natural in the beginning that love is restricted to the people and the pets in our lives. Personal love like this is deep and compassionate, but has not yet extended to include all other lives with the same intensity. The newfound brotherly love that St. Francis felt is the cosmic, all-encompassing love of God, an infinite love for all. When we enlarge our concepts about the one spirit that pervades all manifestation, we form new attitudes about the sacredness of all that exists. Perception must be a growth from within, and reading and meditation can nourish the growth of divine love within us, and its blessings reach out to others. Everyone and everything received the divine outpouring of love from St. Francis. All were his brothers and sisters. His compassion as well as his love extended to all living creatures. It was said his sensitive heart was not less concerned about the welfare of a sparrow, the fate of a flower or a tree, than the affairs of his order. And if he was thus concerned about the plants and flowers, he certainly could not pass by without helping an animal which he found in need. Well-documented accounts tell about his love which won over a Mohammedan sultan, transformed bandits into peaceful friars, and attracted the birds to his sermons. It also includes the story about a wolf. It began one day in winter outside the gates of a city where St. Francis met a group of farmers who were heavily armed with scythes and flails. When he learned they were going after the wolf who had taken their sheep, he went with them. They saw the huge animal in a clearing nearby, and Francis said to the farmers, "Let me talk to him." Then he walked on alone, and they observed with great amazement that the ravenous beast put his paw into the hand that Francis had stretched out toward him. Francis bent down and talked to the wolf. The wolf then stretched out on the ground and began to lick Francis' feet. He stroked him and made him understand that he should follow him. Like a dog, the wolf came trotting after him all along the road, looking up to him in trustful obedience. Together they reached the marketplace of Gubbio, where Francis preached the gospel of love to the crowd that had come to hear his message and see the wolf sitting reverently by his side. From now on, the wolf was the pet of the entire town. He was fed by all the people, and when he died, he was buried in state. Over his grave, a church was erected, and people called it San Francesco della Pace. St. Francis preached the gospel of love, and the tenderness of his love expressed itself to all. He stretched out his hand to the poor and infirm. He gave his kiss of brotherly love to the leper. He fed and protected birds and animals. The overflowing of love that he showed to man, animal, bird, and nature stirred the entire country. He opened the hearts of people to kinship with all beings through love. When Henry Thoreau lived in the solitude of the woods, in his hut beside Walden Pond, he has related, the birds would come without fear and sit down on his shoulders, and the snakes would curl around his legs without doing him any harm. He lived there as happily as the first man in paradise. He and St. Francis dwelt centuries apart, but shared the same harmony with all nature. The laws of God that saints impart for man to revere life are truths for his own blessing. St. Francis sought to save the lives of trees. Our Guru was concerned by unheeding tread upon frail flowers, mute grasses, and jungle weeds. Weeds and grasses improve soil texture and prevent earth erosion. Trees and plants have oxygen-imparting properties. Each one is valuable to man, contributing to his well-being. Wisdom taught by God-enlightened men through the centuries is slowly affirmed in laboratories of scientific study. Scientist Bose proved that there is a living sensitivity within metals and in all plants. This is related in the autobiography of a yogi in Chapter 8. Added Current Agreement has recorded, experiments are opening up a new field of scientific investigation which indicates that the same thread of life runs through plants, animals, and humans. Arizona Highways magazine, which wrote of this in August 1971, also states that plants have feelings which are detected on the polygraph, and they respond in much the same manner that people do. When Dr. Albert Schweitzer described his inner discovery of reverence for life and its spiritual meaning, he included all creatures. In his autobiography, he said, "To the man who is truly ethical, all life is sacred." With wisdom's insight, Paramhansa Yogananda prayed, "Teach me to perceive all animate and inanimate objects as breathing and living by thy love." When we read about that quail Robert, the story that is mentioned later on in this chapter when books are listed, we feel very close to that tiny-sized form and to the consciousness within it that showed so much love, loyalty, responsiveness, intelligence, and friendliness. There are inspiring moments from certain happenings that evoke holy thoughts, and many other revealing occurrences which we share in this interesting story of a quail. What can this small life mean to us? If our love is kindled for Robert so that we sense the divine life within this small creature, then we begin to find it equally in every quail, in all fowl, and we begin to know that pain or injury to any one of them concerns us. We have related from Robert to the many, enlarging the scope of our love. When we really know and understand the little skunk and the porcupine, from the Northern Air books listed, which are mentioned later, they become dear to us. We feel friendly toward them, toward all of their kind. This is equally true of the wolf, fox, bear, and the many others in these writings, when we know them as individuals. As each one becomes dear to us, we grow aware of the same life in all. Paramhansa Yogananda prayed, "Father, bless us that we may obey thy laws of life and respect with kindness the freedom of all thy freeborn children, not only men but also the mammals, birds, and beasts." Have we respected the freedom of birds and all animals, and shown kindness by giving them environmental rights? All of the species that God created, found good, and told to multiply, need man's loving concern and protection. When our lives touch upon that of any living creature, an animal, fish, insect, reptile, or bird, may we be gentle. May we ensure kindness to these sentient beings by compassionate laws which reveal our empathy. A true understanding may begin with our courtesy extended toward each. St. Francis said in a talk to the brothers of his order, "Courtesy is one of the properties of God." Courtesy implies, spiritually, a perception and recognition that God is within another, in everyone. It is a precept of divine behavior. In a prayer, our Guru spoke of the endless territory of divine love, in which I shall find all living things as my own. When we have kinship with all life, we share the divine love of saints. Cosmic consciousness encompasses the realization that the individual self is a part of all selves in many forms, and equally a part of our greater self. We have become loosed from the finite to merge with the infinite. In true reverence for life, we find our souls aflame with cosmic love, where we are one with the Creator and His creation. This is a listing of some of the books, the special books that give awakening conception of the oneness within all life, and especially the sense of love which the devotee will feel and which can help to expand from finite love into the infinite kind of love of God, the love which all of the saints felt. Forest Orphans by August Derleth is a beautiful story about a man called the St. Francis of Northern Air and about his woodland friends. Ginger and Her Woodland Orphans by Karl Marty and Mother is a St. Bernard by Edith L. Johnson are also books about the forest foundlings at Northern Air. Wilderness animals live peacefully together while free to roam the surrounding woods and lakes. The dogs who befriended them all have a large role in these remarkable true happenings. The guests of a large resort hotel there delight in seeing the different species of wild creatures play together in fellowship. They are appealing stories with real drama. The Wild Heart by Emma Lindsay Square, and also On Autumn Trails by Emma Lindsay Square, are two other books, and this quotation is from the first one. Suddenly I knew the tawny lioness before me was a wild thing, even as were the other wild things I had loved, not a savage beast. Hers was not a savage heart, only a wild heart, and I found that love could speak to it. These are about the unusual encounters of the author with wild creatures, which include a bear, seagull, and Bengal tiger. That Quail Robert by Margaret Stanger is about a diminutive quail hatched under a lamp that wins fame in an eventful life. It is a tender and unusual story. Little Tyke by George H. Westbow speaks of lambs, baby chicks, and human celebrities, all who sought the company of this vegetarian lioness. Sandy by Dayton O'Hyde tells by the author of reaching across the barriers of bird language to communicate with sandhill cranes who share his life, told with insight and humor. The Bears and I by Robert Franklin Leslie speak of an old bear aunt, A-U-N-T, who turns over the responsibility for rearing 3 small cubs to the author, now schoolteacher. He wrote that in his instructing of them such human institutions as reward and punishment, trained routines, dog and master status and blind obedience seemed in conflict with mutual respect. The Seal Summer by Nina Warner Hook tells of a seal who comes to shore for human companionship, and a community shares his friendship. Raccoons Are the Brightest People by Sterling North. This delightful book tells about human caring and association with these gentle creatures who live in freedom but come visiting. Never Cry Wolf by Farley Mowat presents the wolf's courtesy to man and respect for his rights, and the pure joy of their own family life. You live with this wolf family through the eyes, words, and understanding of the writer who knew them. Born Free by Joy Adamson, well known for television presentations and with the moving picture as well as the book, is the exchange of love and understanding with a lioness, a remarkable and endearing story. It is good to find the books first at your library, the most immediate source. While you are reading the library copy, your own ordered book from store or publisher can be on its way to you for rereading and sharing. Additional titles informative and enjoyable: The Year of the Whale by Victor B. Sheffer, Burroughs Medal Award about the sperm whale. Sila the Mink by Ewan Clarkson. Vala, the Story of a Sea Lion by Dean Jennings. Then there are books of imagination with liberal seasoning of truth. The first of three, The Cat Who Went to Heaven by Elizabeth Coatsworth. In this Newbery Award book, a Japanese artist contemplates the inner qualities of many animals to know each one before placing it upon a special canvas for a temple. A banyan deer, elephant, monkey, tigress, horse, snail, dog, swan, and many others are included because all of them were related to stories about Buddha. Only the cat is absent, and this creates the drama in this deeply spiritual story. The Fur Person by May Sarton gives us an acquaintance with this cat that enables us to better understand all fur persons from their own view of life. Horton Hears a Who by Dr. Seuss is a book for children but worthy of adult regard, about a large sensitive being who shows respect and consideration for some very minute lives, reminding us of the words of Emerson, "There is no great and no small to the God that maketh all." As we have said, the benefits in reading these books are to help expand our consciousness to know true reverence for life and feel our interrelatedness with all life that is sacred. References to St. Francis and to Thoreau in this talk are from the book Saints That Moved the World by Philip Miller. In the story of St. Francis, there is a footnote in the writing to note the chapter on wolves in Letters to Strongheart. Buddha's concern for animals is mentioned in Priceless Precepts on pages 167, 168, 169, 185, 186, and 187. And Schweitzer's concern mentioned on pages 93 and 214. Paramhansa Yogananda's autobiography refers to animals on pages 256, 257, and 417. The devotee who is seeking cosmic consciousness would hear the words of Paramhansa, who asked that the territory of his love be expanded to the endless territory of divine love. And in order for us to do this, we have to feel the same life pervading every manifestation in all of God's great creation, in which there is no great and no small, for the one Creator maketh all. And this is the brotherhood of man, the brotherhood with all created things, that St. Francis felt when his perfect joy and love were expressed, that have touched and stirred mankind through the centuries. He loved God, but he extended that love to include all, and he extended the same compassion and respect for the life that he found in everything, in nature, in animals, in birds, and in man. He revered all life because he saw that where there is life, there dwells God. And where God is, there is sacredness. And where there is sacredness, we give respect and courtesy. And therefore he extended his respect and his courtesy and his love to all that exists. And we find this same quality in Albert Schweitzer. We find the same expression in Paramhansa Yogananda. We find this same expression wherever we turn to people who have realized the meaning of reverence for life.